Good morning, this is Dwayne, and I want to ask you a question. Why should you learn scales? Piano teachers teach scales as part of piano lessons, and is that really necessary? Well, it's necessary for a couple reasons. And the reason I'd like to talk about today is that you understand what it means to play in a certain key. For example, the key of C is based on the scale of C. The word scale comes from the Latin la scala, which means a ladder. We have a ladder of notes that runs from one C up to another C, okay? So when I play in the key of C, I'm basing my playing on that scale of C. And the chords that I use are based on that scale of C. The most used chords in the key of C are C, F, and G. That's the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. It's called a 1 chord because it's built on the first degree of the scale. It's called a 4 chord because it's built on the fourth degree of the scale. It's called a 5 chord because it's built on the fifth degree of the scale. Okay? Now there's other reasons to learn scales too, such as technique. In other words, you want to learn how to you only have 5 fingers and there's 8 notes in a scale. Okay? So when you're playing a passage of music, it's helpful to know, where you should turn your thumb. You usually turn under the third finger. For example, in the key of C, you see I'm tucking my thumb under that. I don't know if you can see that, but my thumb's over F before I get through playing E. Otherwise, you're running out of fingers, right? So you got to learn what the fingering is for each scale. Okay. Now a scale is made out of whole steps and half steps. A whole step is where you skip a key. We're skipping a key there. Okay. So we have a whole step, and then we have another whole step because we skip a key. Then we have a half step, then a whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So the formula for a major scale is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay? Now let's apply that to some other key. Okay? Instead of starting on C, let's start on B. We know the formula for a major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So that can't be our second note, can it? Because we have to leave out a note. So we go there for the second note of the scale. That's a whole step. What's a whole step above that? There we go. What's a half step above that? Right there. What's a whole step above that? That, whole step, half step. So the scale of B uses all the black keys. You see that? So when I play in the key of B, the primary chords, the most used chords are the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. Okay? If I play in the key of B flat, I'm basing my playing on the scale of B flat. Let's figure out what that is. Up from B flat, a whole step is C. Up from C is a whole step to D, then a half step to E flat, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Notice that when I play the black keys, I use my longer fingers. I don't use my thumb on a black key because that's not handy, is it? So I use a long finger on a black key, and then I tuck my thumb under for white keys. Long finger, long finger, long finger. You see the logic there? It's just common sense, really, once you understand it. Okay, if I play the scale of A, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So how many sharps are there in the key of A? 1, 2, 3. So when I play in the key of A, I have those 3 sharps. And at the beginning of a line of music, if I was playing in the key of A, you'd see those 3 sharps: F sharp, C sharp, and D sharp. I'm sorry, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Okay? So the key of A flat naturally starts on A flat, goes up a whole step to B flat, a whole step to C, a half step to D flat, a whole step to E flat, a whole step to F, a whole step to G, and a half step to A flat. So the key of A flat has those four flats in it, doesn't it? A flat, B flat, D flat, and E flat. So the key signature would have 4 flats. Okay? Now you may wonder, why am I calling that A flat? It could be G sharp. And you're absolutely right. We could call that G sharp. If we do, then we have to call that A sharp, we'd have to call that B sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, G, and G. Uh, Actually, that would be F double sharp, wouldn't it? And then G sharp. Okay, so that's why we don't play in the key in the key of G sharp, because there's a lot of double sharps and so on. It's confusing. So that's why I tend to call it the A flat, and everybody else does too. Call it the key of A flat. Okay, let's quickly run through the remaining scales, and then we're done for today. The G scale then would be like that, 1 sharp. The F sharp scale or the G flat scale would be like this. Again, you see the logic of fingering. I'm using my long fingers on the black keys, thumb under, long fingers. The key of F then would be like that with just the 1 flat, right? Key of E would be like that. Key of E flat would have 3 flats. Key of D would have 2 sharps. Key of D flat would be 5 flats, right like that. Okay? So a brief introduction to why you need to know scales. Yeah, you do for fingering, but more than that, you need to know, you need to understand, because they're the natural notes that you use in that given key when you're playing in that key, and they form the basis of the chords as well. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this kind of thing, come on over to Play Piano and sign up for our free newsletter on chords and chord progressions and all kinds of things related to the piano. So we'll see you there. Bye-bye for now.